I want to write a program that will prompt the user for the number of numbers they want to enter. And then I'm going to loop and I'll prompt them for that many numbers. So if they enter 4, I'll prompt them for 4 numbers. And while I'm looping, I'm going to keep track of the minimum number that's been entered, and I'm going to keep track of a running total, so using an accumulator variable. And so to do this, I have a count variable, that will be the number of numbers they want to enter, a minimum variable that will hold the smallest number entered, total, here's my loop, and then I'll print out the results at the end. And so for my average, I'm going to just calculate the total divided by the count. So the first thing I do is I want to prompt them how many numbers to enter. And then I'll read that in to count. And so my loop will loop from 0 to count. Okay, so if they do 4, it'll loop 4 times because I'm going to loop while I is less than count. So it'll loop from 0, 1, 2, and 3. So I want to prompt them for a number. Enter integer, and I think it'll be kind of clever to say integer 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to put a number sign there, and I will do that. So enter the integer, and then I'll read it in, and I need another variable to hold the number that they're going to enter. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and run this so far. How many numbers to enter? 4. Enter integer 0. Oh, that looks terrible. When you're programming, you don't want to start at 0, right? Users don't know what that means to start at integer 0. So I'm going to change this. I could either change this from 1 to less than or equal to count, or I can just add 1 here. So let's stop that. And either is fine. 4. So enter integer 1. Okay, and I don't want that in line there. But I do want a colon space. So 4, integer 1. Okay, so that's working. So it's prompting the user for the 4 numbers. So now we have to determine the minimum so far and then the total. So the total is fairly straightforward. So we're just going to add the num to total, and that'll keep a running total. But the minimum, there's a special algorithm for finding minimum and maximum. And to do that, you really want to initialize minimum or maximum to the first number entered, right? Because when they enter that first number, that's going to be the smallest and the biggest so far. And then we'll do a comparison with the next number, and we'll update min or max if needed. And so this is how it's going to work. So for the first time in the loop, I want to set min to num. I want to initialize min to num. So if I is equal to 0, that's the first time in the loop, I want to set min to num. Okay, and you would do the same thing if you were finding max. So I'm going to set min to num. And then I want to test, is it bigger or is it smaller? Is the number they entered smaller than what I'm currently holding in min? So I'll say if num is less than min, that means, oh, we found a smaller number. I'm going to update min. So min will be set to num. And so these will both execute. This will execute the first time, right? And then this will not execute, right? Because if they enter the number 1, min will be set to 1, and then 1 is not less than 1. So this will not execute. This part will only execute if we find a number that's smaller than the one they've just entered. Okay, so you might have to think about that. Okay, so we'll do that over and over, count times, and then as soon as we hop out, we are going to print the minimum, the total, and the average. So let's do an easy test. And you always want to pick numbers that are easy to test. So let's do 4, 2, and 5. So the minimum is 2, so that worked correctly. The total is 11, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, but the average isn't correct. 11 divided by 3 is not 3. And so remember, these are both integers, so what do I have to do? I have to cast one of them to look like a float for just this operation. So static, cast, double, or float, and then put total into parentheses. And I'll run that again. So let's do 3, 4, 2, and 5. And so the minimum is 2, the total is 11, and this is the average. Okay, so this is the algorithm for finding min and max. You always set min and max to the first number entered, and then you compare subsequent entries to that variable. And if you find one that's smaller, you'll update min. If you find one that's bigger, you'll update max. So I'm going to post this code below the video so that you can open it up and change the code to find the min. So don't delete min, but just add the code to find the maximum number entered.